Welcome everybody to Finals Day here from I-51 for the Razer League of Legends Challenger Cup. I am Stress, as I have been all weekend. Alongside me is Scoundrel. We've been bringing you all the action, and we're into what is possibly one of the best series that we're going to have this weekend. It's the Consolation Final. It'll decide who faces Rain in the finals. FM eSports going up against Unicorns of Love. I cannot wait for this series.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this. FM have been solid all weekend, unfortunately losing out earlier in the tournament, but coming up against Unicorns of Love for the second time, I believe.
Yeah, so there's going to be a little bit of that mentality difference between these teams of now FM know they've lost 0-2 to Unicorns of Love before in this weekend. And how do they combat this? And we talked about the way FM were talking about the Unicorns of Love games yesterday with Ziggs, Nocturne, Leona were pretty much the priority picks for Unicorns of Love, so they're going to be banned away from this. And you can see the response here. Unicorns of Love have almost exclusively always banned Morgana in this tournament.
Yeah, they've been banning it out against their own support, and now if Leona gets banned as well, which it has been, it's going to be really tough, I think, for Hylasang to get onto a champion that he's really good at. We've seen his Thresh play, and neither of us were particularly impressed. I mean, we've got to put it in perspective. He wasn't playing badly with Thresh, he just wasn't playing at the level that we thought he should be playing at.
Yeah, it's like we see his Leona hit every single Zenith blade, every ultimate, every skill shot. It's just the case that I was actually talking with him about this, that in the Face It Invitationals, I actually was calling that Hylasang's death sentences was so good, like amazingly good, but just maybe a little bit slower in yesterday's play. However, we're going to see a completely new set of supports here.
Yeah.
We've got the 3 bans out to the supports, which
I think this will really shake the bot lane up, and I think we're going to see something really interesting. Now, we know Yero loves his unconventional supports. Will this play into the bot lane's favour on FM eSports?
He really likes playing that Zillion, but first pick I have to feel is going to be No, okay. I was going to say Shyvana, otherwise Sheepy is likely to pick it up in this first rotation after that Nocturne's not available. He's kind of defaulted to that. The other option is Kha'Zix. I kind of expect to see those 2 junglers as the 2 junglers play.
Yeah, Master of Sheepy, we've seen him run these heavy farm junglers. He has been hitting that Feral Flare at that key time of 15 minutes, so where it's very potent because no one can deal with the amount of magic damage that Feral Flare puts out at that time. Now, we haven't seen him play anything that runs the Lizard Elder yet, so
yeah.
Will he go for the Kha'Zix? And I'd like to see him maybe pick up Xin Zhao. I saw him play it in the online qualifiers, and he was very, very good with it. And we saw Nutri, even though he didn't get the stacks that he needed, still provided to this sort of presence that you need from a Xin Zhao early in the game. So it's not all about the stacks with Xin Zhao. He's got that sort of versatility to do both.
Yeah, I was talking to Master Sheepy about this a little bit earlier, but I was going to follow that on to the finals, but I think it's a good time to bring it up, is that Master Sheepy and I were talking about Nutri, and the way that Xin Zhao game played was, even though the Xin Zhao was behind, he'd done enough in the early game to set the rest of the team up that he still had the pressure that he needed. It's a very different play style in some respects with Kha'Zix, because you're so strong early on that it's very difficult not to get yourself rolling.
Yeah, I just want to point out, Nutri and me were talking about Kha'Zix against Feral Flare junglers. Now, if you ban away the heavy farming junglers, or don't pick the heavy farming junglers, you can actually get that power spike from the Lizard Elder way before the Feral Flare will come into play. So you can have that spike to take down dragons, you'll be better in team fights, and you can start snowballing your lanes while the other jungler is going to be catching up into that mid game, and it will already be too late. Now, Akilord, or Akiwise as he's known now, he's been playing Lee Sin the last few games that they've played in this tournament. Now, Tundra had said to me that the team needed a boost after losing out, and they've beat a couple of good teams, having beaten Infused and Enigma, or Void and Enigma rather. I think it was FM. Yeah, so they beat 2 really high-seeded teams to get here, and Akiwise was playing Lee Sin. Now, Lee Sin's one of those champions. If you play well on, I think you continue to play well on him, because he's very much a confidence-based champion.
Yeah.
If you're hitting your skill shots, you're going to be going in and hitting your skill shots every time because you're confident you can hit those skill shots. Now, we were talking about Lee Sin. This is the first time I think we've cast him this tournament.
Yep.
Now, I brought up the fact that with the safeguard nerf, it's no longer easy to make those insect trades. So you kind of jump to a ward, and then you have a 10-second cooldown on your safeguard.
That's an interesting set of lock-ins.
Is that a Kayle?
I feel like it's either a Kayle top, but I don't think it'll be Kayle support.
Edward in the LCS played Kayle support.
Okay, I did catch that game, but I remember thinking that I just feel
it was
like
lackluster. It was very lackluster, but
I just remembered thinking I just would prefer this mid if it's being played. We'll see how this works out for them. I mean, obviously intervention is a great utility to have in a team, and you can put it onto Kha'Zix. Kha'Zix jumps in with the ball from Orianna, you get the shockwave, you have the damage reduction from the Void Assault, so it's there in theory.
What I like for this is they've been... FM have picked very safely. They're waiting for Tundra to get that top lane, because Tundra is undoubtedly probably one of the best players, bar Samwise and Yero on the team. So Tundra controls that top half of the map. He's been given Ryze. Now, he's not sure whether Kayle is going to be top or Kayle is going to be support. So this is a blind pick Ryze. They're not sure. So Halesang's now going to pick, and we're going to see whether this will be either a Kayle support or Kayle top. However, Kayle top can beat the Ryze.
We've seen a lot of Jax recently as well, so I mean, Jax against Ryze is a little bit more of a tricky matchup for that Jax, so I don't know whether we'd see it in this situation. Again, more top laners, and Renekton kind of struggles as well.
This might be mind games from Tundra saying, right, I know what these good top lane champions that you play are, Vizzy. I'm going to take one that counters them and force you into something you may not be comfortable on.
One of the only champions that we've seen do quite well against Ryze is Rumble in the past couple of days, and that was in the Infused matchup, and I wonder whether, because I've not seen Vizzy play Rumble in a very long time, he's kind of drifted out. I wonder whether he'll... Oh, okay.
Ooh.
Interesting.
This is... If that's a Xin Zhao top, which I'd be very intrigued if it was... If this is a Xin Zhao top, that's gonna really just wreck that Ryze early on. But it's gonna be a Kha'Zix top by the looks of it.
That's something that JWoww, from former TCM, now SK Gaming Prime, does a lot. Not SK Prime, sorry, Gamers 2.
Gamers 2
plays
with
Ocelot.
yeah.
I always think Ocelot, think
still
SK.
on SK,
It force of habit. But yeah, he's in Gamers 2. Does this all the time. Until Jax came into the meta, would play Jax Kha'Zix all the time. Every single game. He just loved those damage champions. The same with Yasuo, and Tundra is just going to be waiting out the game to...
Yeah, I would hope so. I don't think he's going to... I think he's just trolling us with the revive.
I would really hope so. But yeah, I'm sure that'll be the case. So we'll see if for any last-minute swap-ups. This lineup for Unicorns of Love is very ambiguous, really. I mean, to be honest... Once you see that there's no other support champion, that's where Kayle is going. But there are a couple of other champions that can just kind of shuffle around a little bit. But it is going to get locked in here, so both top laners will be running that teleport, and it will be Kha'Zix in the top lane. So that should be quite an explosive top lane.
I would say so. Early on, if like you said, Kha'Zix's leap is okay for engaging early on. It's got a very short leap range, and he needs to get the isolation onto Ryze. Now, Ryze thrives off not being isolated, you know, especially when he's got his ultimate up. He wants to get that AoE damage across the minions in lane as well to get the spell vamp up. So, again, this is going to be something that Vizzy's going to have to go aggressive early. He's going to have to be using the brush to reset his passive, getting that auto attack off with extra magic damage, trying to isolate Tundra and forcing him into a position that he's uncomfortable on. Now, Kha'Zix is very good early if you can get the isolations, and that's where he'll look to build on getting this Ryze down on this top lane. If he lets Ryze get to level 6, I feel like Tundra's going to start taking the lane.
Yeah, I agree with that, and Ryze is just going to more consistently scale throughout the game. I feel if Vizzy doesn't get a kill early and then snowball that on top of it with good roaming and good team fights, it'll be difficult.
Another thing is this top lane Kha'Zix is probably not going to build into the very popular Kha'Zix that we've been seeing in the jungle, which is the early damage into tank, so that when he uses the Void Assault he can survive for longer. I do feel like he will go Hex Drinker though, obviously.
Yeah, I think
so you'll be sated in that respect. But I don't feel like we're going to be having a Randuin's Kha'Zix, for example, coming out now. He's going to be needing the damage, because although Xin Zhao has that good early game damage, Xin Zhao won't be going full damage, because he will need to be the tank for this team right now.
Yeah, agreed. It's going to be a little bit of a different shift on this, and I don't think that Unicorns of Love went through this picks and bans phase with Kha'Zix locked in, saying that, yeah, we're just going to put him top. I honestly don't feel like when they picked that up, they wanted to put it top. I feel like it's just kind of circumstances have gone that way.
I would say this, I'd be interesting to see how Master of Sheepy plays Xin Zhao. Now, we're used to him rushing that Feral Flare to get the objective control. Now, Xin Zhao thrives on both early game ganks and getting that Feral Flare. Are we going to see Master of Sheepy move to a balance here? Because we haven't seen him go for these gank-heavy junglers at all this tournament.
Yeah, it's interesting.
And against Lee Sin, you're going to have to.
Yeah, you will have to offset a lot of his ganking potential as well. And I wonder with this Lee Sin, you talked about Akulord playing Lee Sin yesterday. They went very confidently over Enigma yesterday, and apparently that first game was very one-sided in favor of FM. So we'll see again. Something we haven't really picked up on even since it was locked in was Mayhem on LeBlanc, because we've become so used to seeing LeBlanc first picks these days that it's not that big a talking point. But when you have a LeBlanc and a Kha'Zix in the same game, it just kind of boils down to a case of who gets those early kills, who snowballs the hardest, tends to do very, very well in the game, and a lot of the game is decided on which assassin can get that burst down first.
Yeah, LeBlanc actually easier to get the burst down. She doesn't require a specific positioning of champions. She can get, as long as she can get into position, that means she can get most of her damage off. Kha'Zix will need isolation to get 100% burst, so it'll depend on that. And now I do want to pick up on this bot lane because Samwise and Yero are incredibly good in that bot lane, and Samwise is on possibly what we would tote as his best champion. He is on Caitlyn, and Yero on Karma. Now Yero is very good at these poke-heavy AP champions in the bot lane. We saw him on Zillion, we've seen him on Brand, which is a bit of a troll but still worked out very well for him, and now he's on Karma. Now, I would be expecting Yero to be very aggressive level 1, especially versus a Kayle, who is going to have to decide between taking her auto attack first, or her Q, or even her heal, which doesn't exactly heal for tons at level 1. So, I would give this lane over to Samwise and Yero, because I'm not sure Lucian and Kayle are going to be able to deal with the poke that Caitlyn and Karma can exert. Yeah,
that's a really good question and point to raise. They've run the double heal as well, so obviously they're a little bit worried about that. No exhaust on the side of Unicorns of Love, and actually a barrier on Orianna.
Yeah, no. Well, you got to put it this way: heal is not as effective in a singular lane versus ignite. Although heal gets rid of ignite, you still heal for half of the amount beforehand. So barrier is more effective at preventing burst, which is why most people who go up against LeBlancs and Zeds will pick that barrier, because they know that ignite will come down on them when the all-in comes to happen. So if you heal, you won't be hit. You're basically having half a barrier and a bit of movement speed. So taking the barrier will save you that more damage, because it obviously doesn't affect ignite.
Especially with the 2 heals in the bottom lane. No need for a 3rd heal in those team fights. That's a little bit overkill there. But interesting to see no exhaust on either team.
Yeah, I'm very surprised about that. I would have thought an exhaust for Kha'Zix would at least have been necessary, even if not an exhaust for Ryze or LeBlanc either. You know, especially if Ryze gets to that late game stage, you're going to have to start to look to shut him down.
So I feel like I can explain the lack of exhaust from FM specifically. Yesterday, when I was talking to Yero about, he had a game that they were playing. He was playing Zillion support, which was a little bit different, obviously. Different play style in the lane, but he was saying, I felt so useless with exhaust because I couldn't win the lane with it. All I could do was stop them winning the lane. But with Ignite, we can be aggressive, we can get the kill and snowball our own lane for ourselves, rather than just deny their damage. So it was one of those things that Yero's a very aggressive player, loves having that control on the lane, and yes, they push a little bit too hard. Sometimes we saw Samwise diving a little bit risky yesterday, but apparently that was actually Yero telling him to dive behind the tower. So they like that control. So Ignite gives them that playstyle choice, and it may not be quite as efficient these days as Exhaust is, while Exhaust has had those recent changes. But if it helps you win your lane better and play your playstyle better, by all means, it's still an excellent choice.
Sorry for about the overlays here, guys. We are in a pause at the moment, so you're not actually missing any action whatsoever. We can't find out exactly what's happening, but it looks like FM eSports have decided to pause. Yero did have a problem with his PC and some graphical bugs yesterday, so that could be the issue. Right, here we go. Looks like we're going back into the game. Level 1, now we do love a bit of level 1 action at Multiplays and so many 51s, so who do you think here is going to be likely going for it? Because Yero's level 1 damage is incredible, especially with his Mantrid Inner Flame. But apart from that, they don't have much else in the form of CC bar the Ethereal Chains, which I don't think Mayhem's going to want to be taking first because he won't have the wave clear to deal with the level 1. And then Tundra maybe... I mean, Risers do sometimes go for Rune Prism first, but Overload is a lot better for getting damage off, especially Harass at level 1. So.
Yeah, and it's quite a short range as well. When you look at a level 1, you want something like a Death Sentence or a Dark Binding, something that you can catch from a moderate range, so that if the rest of the team are there, you're not just charging headlong into 5 members. So I don't know. I think I would like to see both teams play this a little more defensively to begin this one off, just because I feel like it'll be such a close range fight that we're going to see a couple of kills traded if they do fight.
Yeah, I believe so too. I don't think Unicorns of Love will want to engage at level 1. I don't think they have the amount of CC. Especially Zin, he's going to have to take 3 Talon Strike if they want any form of CC on their side. And he's going to need to hit 3 auto attacks in a level 1 engage, which is actually quite hard to do. And now they have the Orianna for the scouting and the control, but it looks like they're going to face check into AccuWise. He has got a Sonic Wave thrown out. They know it might just be him, so they're going to force their way through. Piltover Peacemaker comes down, and they are brute forcing their way through this jungle. They could be either getting onto this blue buff or going for a deep ward. Looks like they are going to go onto this blue.
They're a little bit split off as Zodiaz is all around the side. They will regroup, however, but FM are following them. They just want to be careful they don't get baited out too far here. Tundra in the bush. Has he got room for his No,
wow.
it's Overload. The inner flame
Yeah.
forces a couple of flashes out there, and Unicorns actually come out from that behind. Now Master Sheepy's not going to have that flash available.
Not a great start. They've got that ward down. I'm not sure how much it's going to provide for them now that Akulord is starting at his blue. Also means that the ward that Kale started with is going to mean she has no lane control in the bot lane either. So now there's that ward at the blue. What has that offered Unicorns of Love apart from knowing where Lee Sin is going to start? We do know that Tundra has started Overload in that top lane, so he has got that Q to start off with, and Void Spikes as a start for Kha'Zix.
Yeah, that's a little bit interesting to begin with, but of course, I mean, it's not the jungle Kha'Zix that's going to want that, you know, that clear time and extra isolation damage on the creeps. But yeah, speaking about that ward, actually, I'm just noticing, did AccuWise just Sonic Wave over the... because that's a pet peeve of mine. He did. He Sonic Wave to blue buff and wasted 2 stacks of...
Yeah, 2 stacks of his passive. It looks like they're going to go really hard onto highlights on the first. It forces the heal out. Yero doing a great job at level 1. Master Sheepy having to come down and cover. And that is Samwise and Yero putting the pressure down already, as we said they would early on.
And it also confirms that Xin Zhao was starting on blue buff because he had to come down. That's a very small piece of knowledge, but it just gives Tundra the idea that in about 30 seconds he has to be very careful in that lane, has to look to ward out. And the ward's already there from Unicorns of Love. Tundra maybe will place that within the next second.
Now we saw this in the Rain first game versus Unicorns of Love. The bot lane for Rain, which was Omega, and can't quite remember the name of the support, but they won out early on at level 1, but didn't do enough. But it looks like First Blood goes down on the top lane. I didn't manage to catch the action there. Stress, did you manage to see what happened?
Yeah, we were following it on stream. Visage actually just has so much damage. Hit level 2 first, managed to jump right on top of Tundra, forced to flash forward to pick up the kill, but ended up getting it right under the tower.
Yeah, well, he really, actually, to be honest, needed that. Yeah. And that's what he needed to do, and that's what we said was the best way to deal with the Rise. Tundra's not going to be happy with that in himself, so he's going to have to start playing a little bit more defensively now, which is going to force him to farm less and maybe get a little bit less gold and delay that late game on core build that Rise needs to get powerful. In that mid lane, however, we're seeing Mayhem. He's not being too aggressive early on, just letting Orianna push the wave up. Going to be sticking up, just falling behind on CS now. If that continues, you know, I think she's going to have a tough time, especially with Orianna's push onto the tower that she had. So yeah, we saw the bot lane get the advantage against Unicorns of Love bot lane yesterday, and they didn't do anything with it bar the 20 CS lead. And as that goes later and later into the game, that becomes less and less valuable.
Yeah.
So hopefully the bot lane of FM will be able to do something with that. I mean, they are probably the best English bot lane in England, you know, in the British scene. So
indeed, and they're shoving in pretty hard here, and that's what you have to expect from this Karma Caitlyn lane. They're going to land so much harass. Akulord actually came down towards this bottom lane, but I don't think he'll really find the angle here to get into the lane. It's a bit tricky, and Xin Zhao in the top lane, very similarly. Tundra's so close to his tower that unless he really steps forward greedily, he'll be a little bit hard fought to get into that lane.
Tundra knows something's up, as Kha'Zix was letting him push the wave. So, you know, Tundra's not an idiot. He's not gonna he's not gonna think, why is Kha'Zix letting me push this wave against him? There must be something up. Now, we've seen Master Sheepy do this before. He's quite a patient jungler. He'll stick around, and to be honest, focusing Tundra is the best thing that Unicorns of Love can do to snowball their game right now. Get that Kha'Zix ahead, and you know, further and further ahead. He'll just crush anybody in these mid-game team fights.
And it's kind of the way the first kill happened was Kha'Zix and Ryze couldn't be really two more polar opposite champions. Kha'Zix is going to have a great early game into the mid game. Ryze is going to have a great mid game into the late game, and it's to do with like mobility and damage in this early game period that the further ahead they put Kassadin at Ryze's expense, the later and later FM's actual peak in their strength is going to get pushed back, because they do need Tundra to round out that mid-game damage. LeBlanc can only do so much while she's so fragile.
Yeah, and looking at the tower pushing abilities, obviously Vizzy is going to have a better way of pushing towers, being an AD champion, and Ryze, we know, has possibly one of the slowest tower pushing abilities in the game, so he's never going to be pushing that top lane turret to the extent that he needs to. Now, Vizzy's done a good job of starving Ryze out and forcing him to come all the way up to the top of this lane. Akalord's going to back out, but they do see Master of Sheepy in the background there, so Akalord and Tundra are going to go for a 2v2 if necessary. Now, I'm not sure Vizzy's going to get far enough up here for Akalord to do anything, so he's probably going to have to back away.
Yeah, I'm not sure that either team really wants that 2v2 either. They're kind of hanging around just to make sure it doesn't happen, because really this early on, Ryze is not going to be that good in the 2v2 other than just landing that Rune Prison.
It does look like Lee Sin is going for the Lizard Elder, and as we thought, Master of Sheepy is heading over towards building that Feral Flare. You probably would have built anything else on Xin Zhao at the moment either. In the meantime, Yarrow and Samwise are making the best of their time in that bot lane, having got the bot lane tower down to about 3rd health. Once that's down, they can look to push up or rotate, which will put Orianna behind as well. So, you know, they're doing a good job. They're doing exactly what the Rain eSports team should have done against them in the first game, and they're just getting that tower down.
It seems almost counterintuitive that Akale is getting pushed in, but Hylasang is having to conserve a lot of the mana that he has for the heals in lane, because it costs so much of Kale's mana to use that heal and to use Righteous Fury, and it means that they're constantly getting pushed in. They don't have the wave clear other than from Lucian, and we've already talked about how good Caitlyn Karma is at pushing in towards the tower, so they've got a lot of damage down and backed off to pick up more items. It means they can bully out the Unicorns of Love, and they've actually forced them to back here as well. So before the level 6 mark, that means Samwise and Yarrow should have the advantage when the rest of the Unicorns come back into lane.
Yeah, right now Tundra's doing a really good job of keeping up in farming. He is now level 6, only 15 CS behind despite losing the first, but he's going to use the ultimate, and there's Vizzy coming in. He has got his ultimate available. Tundra's going to get isolated, but he's going to be too close to his tower. He's going to jump back in. Look at the damage coming out from the isolated Q and the passive on Vizzy, and Tundra making a small mistake in lane there, forcing Vizzy to get another load of free farm, and Tundra having to go back. Yeah,
and Vizzy's just going to be content with having that ultimate down. Ryze has a pretty low cooldown ultimate. At level 1, it's still significant enough that during an actual prolonged laning phase, you can exploit that it's down. But in this situation, he's going to pretty much just get forced back, actually, as Vizzy took a little bit of damage there from
the minion wave, I think, as well.
Yeah, between the minions and Tundra kind of faking out back there. Vizzy was actually caught unaware, and Tundra's going to go
for this. Oh wow, he's going to start taking the tower shots for his trouble. The Rune Prison actually landing on the the fountain for Vizzy. He's going to teleport straight back to lane so he doesn't miss any of that CS. And Tundra's now going to turn around and say, okay, I've learnt my lesson, I'm now going to go back.
Yeah, I don't think he was expecting the tower aggro there, because the Rune Prison only, as you said, followed up onto the fountain as the recall completed. But
the jungle's been very quiet at the moment for both junglers, so we haven't seen much action, but Akalord is there. There are no wards available for the bot lane of Unicorns of Love. There is level 6, Akalord is level 6 too. He's going to come in a little bit aggressive on the Sonic Wave, not quite hitting anything. And I think both junglers are starting to get frustrated, but this will play straight into the hands of Master of Sheepy. I think he will like the fact that both junglers are quiet, because it's going to play into the favour of Xin Zhao, who wants to farm up that Feral Flare.
Yeah, and he's going to have the time to do that, as you were alluding to, because every time he seems to come to the top lane, it's always shoved in, and he's actually preempting this Tribush ward.
Which is, yeah, and so they're going to go for the dive onto Tundra, get a good bit of damage down to Vizzy beforehand. He's going to turn around now. Tundra knows something's up. Master of Sheepy's going to chase him down. Tundra's popped the ultimate to get the movement speed increase, and that was a really good escape, but this could be a bit of damage coming down on the tower. Looks like LeBlanc is rotating up top. There is a ward that's going to pick her off. It's going to force Master of Sheepy and Vizzy to head back now. Is Mayhem going to get in and get the ethereal chains? The Void Sparks has missed already. He's going to jump in, possibly. No, he's going to go really hard. I don't know what Mayhem was doing right there. He got himself isolated, forces the flash. Tundra's going to go down if the isolation Q comes out. There's the jump and the kill there. Mayhem's going to go down too, and that was poor play from Mayhem.
Oh man, I don't think Akulord's going to be able to pick anything off here. He's just forced to clear this wave and hold the tower, but Mayhem moved way too close to Master of Sheepy and Vizicachi. I think he had anticipated them just falling back. Bottom lane, there's a bit of a skirmish going on here as Hylasang is a little bit low from this, but they're just going to kind of reset this lane and go back to farming. But I think Mayhem stepped forward, anticipating Vizicachi and Master of Sheepy falling all the way back to their tower, and kind of hadn't figured out that if he was on his own, they're just going to isolate you and do all that.
Oh, there's a flash comes out from Hylasang. Samwise has to use the heal. In comes Zodiac. A great shockwave. Anticipates the flash from Samwise. Samwise is going to go down here to Vardag. Zero has to use the snare under tower, but there's the good ultimate from KO. Going to tank up the damage. KO is going to try and follow up. Uses the heal to get the speed boost. Yero uses the speed boost from his own shield, and that's a bit of a maybe a wasted heal coming out.
And it was also somewhat a waste of a gank by Zodiaz. He lost a little experience, and actually a kill went over to Mayhem in the middle lane. Master of Sheepy fell. I didn't see what happened there. It looked like it was a 1v1, even though Akulord is now standing in the lane. Mayhem just picked off Master of Sheepy, so even though Zodiaz roamed down, it was actually his lane opponent that ended up getting a kill from that.
Yeah, actually Mayhem making up for his blunder early on, picking up those double buffs, which will really help him now against the Orianna. He is 24 CS behind the Orianna in lane, so he's not having the best time in terms of CS either. He gets a bit of damage down onto Zodiac. The double Sigil of Silence coming out doesn't manage to proc the second bit of damage that would have allowed him to do, as having used the distortion to get into range of that. Now in that top lane, Tundra is really starting to fall behind. He's being forced to start farming those jungle minions to stack the tier, and again, it's not too bad for FM right now. They're only about 2k, if nearly 2k behind. It's not going too badly.
I think when you look at their lanes, it's where you'd expect them to be. You'd expect a Rise to be slightly behind Kha'Zix on CS. Maybe not the 2 kills. The 2 kills is a little bit further than they'd like it, but with regards to the laning phase, actually Tundra checks through the bush and is in a lot of trouble here. But Vizicachi's run out of minions. He's going to have to back away, so Tundra will live to fight another day. In that middle lane, you'd expect a LeBlanc to be a little bit behind an Orianna just for those early levels when Orianna is going to be able to deal a lot of damage. And bottom lane, Caitlyn expected to be up in CS, but is down a kill from that roam.
I think they know that Dragon's going on right now, because there's a big rush from Akulord and Mayhem to get down to this Dragon, but it's going to go down to Master of Sheepy there with a good smite, getting it past that mantled Q. Oh, Mayhem manages to distort out of this shockwave. That's going to be down. That's going to be tempting FM eSports into a fight, but the command dissonance doing a bit of damage to Mayhem. He's going to have to get out of this with the distortion. I don't think they want to fight this anymore.
No, FM don't want to fight this at all. With so many members of Unicorns of Love, now the rest of FM have joined.
Okay, that was an attempted insect. Incoming teleport from Kha'Zix. They're in a bad position right now. Teleport from Tundra coming in too. They get a Q onto Master of Sheepy, but there's the ultimate. He's going to go down to Vardags. Tundra takes culling to the face right there. The damage is very, very much in favour of FM if they can get in. They need to follow up though. The ace in the hole coming down doesn't manage to finish off Hylasang, and that was very lucky for Unicorns of Love right there, because Tundra used his ultimate to perfection.
A 1-for-1 trade with the junglers going down doesn't really affect too much from this. It kind of just keeps the game where we were. Nobody's able to take a dragon because Unicorns already took that. They already have the advantage from that gold, but there's a rotation out from FM. That turret is still pretty high, and I don't think that Karma and Rise are really going to be able to push on this turret. It's just kind of a little bit of a distraction as Samwise shoves a giant wave into that bottom lane turret.
I think Samwise could have afforded to try and get a couple of hits onto that tower. They really need to take that bot lane tower to make it worth it now. They need a bit of global gold in their favour and start getting some rotations in, but with the the timely appearance of Vardags, that's not going to go down just yet. So Samwise and Yero may stick around in that bot lane. No, actually back. Well, Yero tried it.
They're going to head back. Let's take a quick look at the Feral Flare stacks. So 13 stacks onto that Wriggles Lantern so far, so a little bit away from that still, but we've already talked about how Xinjiao and the Feral Flare you get it a little bit later. Up in the top lane, Vizicachi is going to take down the first tower of this game. I'd expect that to be answered with the bottom lane soon, but as you mentioned, they are already heading back here, so FM are going to kind of relieve that pressure in the bottom lane almost needlessly, I feel, and with Vardags and Hylasang pushing in the bottom lane as well, this tower is only about a third of the health, so they may actually score 2 towers pretty quickly here if Samwise and Yero were to go back and they force them to stay in lane.
Yeah, forcing him to stay in lane, and actually Samwise and Yaro's turret is almost as unhealthy as the turret is for Unicorns of Love. So this bot lane is turned on its head right now. It looks like Master and Sheepy's looking for a gank, but the ward coverage from both teams is really good. The pink ward in that brush again coming to take down, and he's going to head round, maybe take away a bit of the Wraith camp. No, he's going to get a deep ward in the jungle. Red side for the FM eSports.
And it's an important reason why they're holding Samwise in this bottom lane. The item difference, Bloodthirster to just BF Sword and Vamp Sword, means that Vardax is stacking everything faster here, and they're landing more damage because they just have more in that itemization. So Vardax is content to delay Samwise Bloodthirster for as long as possible.
Yeah, there's a ward there that will pick Xin Zhao up as he moves out of the tri-bush, but it'll only be as he moves out. They don't know he's there just yet. He is going to move out now. Samwise is going to find out. He's sticking around though. I don't know what he's doing. He's going to get picked up. Has to flash. The heal comes out too. He's probably going to go down. Lord's not there in time. Yaro's very, very low right now. Forces the safeguard out of Lee Sin, and this still could be a dive. They need to be really careful. The tower is just going to go down.
They're going to get that tower and back away from that, so that was really well worked, holding Samwise in a position that he really didn't want to be in. We saw him attempt to back earlier, but just got held in lane for another 2 minutes, and that is not really ideal for Samwise. He wanted to get that Bloodthirster finish, really just get that spike in damage, and then return to lane. But Unicorns of Love just kind of controlling that bottom lane now, and we talked about how good the FM eSports bot lane is. Unicorns are firing back at that.
Yeah, and Orianna picking up a ton of magic resist with the Mercury Treads included with her Athenes and Holy Grail. Tundra needs to be careful that he doesn't get isolated in that top lane. So Mayhem's kill potential on Zodiac has been incredibly, sort of exponentially reduced even with the inclusion of that Mercury Treads. The silence is going to be for 35% less now, so 35% less duration on the silence, which means that Zodiac can react with a shield, as well as her retaliation damage too.
Yeah, that is a good pickup there on those Mercury Treads. And with that, Athene's own Holy Grail is going to be able to land quite a bit of damage herself, and that tower is pretty low as well. Unicorns of Love have managed to, even while have being pushed in some of their lanes, have done good damage to the towers already. I mean, we've seen FM trying to shove that mid and bottom lane.
Akiwise is going to get caught out by Vizzy here. He's going to get a bit damaged. Look at Yaro having to flash away. Aki is just going to head around the side there. There's a 4v4 in this mid lane. The bot lane turret does go down to minions as Samwise is farming the golems. Probably needs to rotate round and try and help his team out, as they will not win this team fight if it comes down to it. It does look like a bit of damage comes down to Zodiac, but look, the combo from LeBlanc, which should be doing a lot more at this stage in the game, only taking away around a fifth of the health of Zodiac, and that gets healed up by Kale.
They got quite a few heals there. Dual Summoner heal plus the Kale heal is pretty good. They got the shield coming from Orianna as well, and then if somebody drops too low, that intervention will get dropped on, and that's it. They've got two methods of ball delivery system here.
Oh, there's Xin Zhao comes down. The ultimate comes down to focus down Yaro. He's going to go down to Vardax, who's now 4-0. I don't know what else is going to happen, because the Ethereal Chains comes out, tries to get a bit of damage down onto Master of Sheepy, but the Culling is going to come out and force him back. Samwise is there. Piltover Peacemaker to their face, but Tundra and the rest of his gang are going to have to lick their wounds and give up this top mid lane turret, I believe.
Yeah, they're just going to have to forfeit that. They've already sent Vizichachi up to the top lane though for Unicorn, so he's going to continue that push that he was activating earlier in the game. He's just been sitting up in that top lane, just pushing that, forcing Tundra away from his turrets and minions as much as possible. So Tundra hasn't had that free farm that a Rise would like. He's done a good job of farming, he just hasn't had an opportunity to sit there up on his own, and he's going to ruin
instant Kale ultimate comes down, gets rid of most of the damage from the Rise. Master Yoshipi has a Sonic Wave on his head right now. I'm not sure if they're going to retaliate. The Dragon is up though. This is going to be a big fight. This is where FM eSports need to get some damage down and come back into the game. I do feel like Tundra has used most of his potential with the ultimate cooldown, trying to get his ultimate cooldown reduced using his skills. Master Sheepy is very low right now though, so they need to be careful as Yero starts to get his poke out.
Also, Unicorns only have one ultimate available as Master Sheepy's is about to come back. Cooldown. Oh no, it's about a quarter of the cooldown left. But Vizichachi's is the only ultimate that's still available. Intervention is still
Shockwave about to come up too.
Yeah, Shockwave's due up, so that's one of their big team fight aspects, but they've been forced into a position where they really don't want to be here, and it's actually going to give FM control over the Dragon area. They're going to start it out, and Vizichachi nearly gets locked down.
Oh, the damage
Into
coming
the
out.
pit.
He has got the shockwave available. That's all they need to turn this fight around. Tundra gets instantly deleted off the map. Mayhem's going to have to flash out. Master Ishibi's in the backline there. This is so reminiscent of how TSM played against CLG in their first game. Purple team get the Dragon. Xin Zhao picking that up with the smite. Yarrow is by himself. Does force the flash from Vizzy on top of him, but the isolated Q is going to finish him off. Wow, FM absolutely deleted.
That's a 4-for-0 trade, plus the Dragon going over to Unicorns of Love. And they got the smite secure on that. It looked like FM couldn't quite get the smite down in time, and then Master of Sheepy followed. Actually didn't smite it. Master of Sheepy didn't get the smite, so it was Akulord's smite that put the Dragon incredibly low, and then Master of Sheepy just finished it off. So
wow.
I believe that'll give him, you know, that stack onto the Feral Flare.
Yeah,
So he'll be
gets
happy
the stack
again
onto the
now.
Feral Flare as well, so that's decent as well there. Yeah, so Akulord not having the greatest of games either. I feel like the Lee Sin was picked to put a bit of early game pressure on, but the way that FM have played in their early game, it meant that he couldn't do anything. And I do feel kind of bad because now Lee Sin, he's not going to be as useful into this mid game as Feral Flare Xin Zhao will be.
No, that's one of the things we talked about, I believe it was on Friday, with the usefulness of Lee Sin. His utility actually kind of drops towards that mid-late game stage where really at that point you're just a single target initiator, where you have the kick, the insect style maneuver. If you can get that kick into 3 or 4 people, then yeah, it has a group effect, but it's just one of those things that he's not quite as useful as a champion like Xin Zhao, who can split the pack, clear everybody away, and just focus one person down, as well as act as a ball delivery system. So it's all down to Master of Sheepy holding off on that Crescent Sweep for Zodiaz to Shockwave first. So you need Shockwave into Crescent Sweep, not just sweep everybody away.
So right now, FM are just having to sit back on their inner turrets. Samwise having to get as much farm as he can off those double columns. Actually, Samwise ahead on CS against Lucian, not that it offers him much right now with Lucian being 4-0. What can FM do? They need to get Rise's core item. He's already picked up that Rod of Ages and now has the Glacial Shroud, which he picked up before his Catalyst, I believe, right at the start to try and deal with the damage coming out from Kha'Zix. Not that it helped him too much, as he was completely destroyed in that Dragon teamfight. Well, I can just see Unicorns of Love out-rotating now, because they had the teleport on Kha'Zix, which will be due up soon. It is available on Rise, but right now, Kha'Zix is infinitely more powerful.
Yeah, and Kha'Zix has got the distortion boots as well, so he's going to get that teleport up even more often. But one of the things that FM have to do is exploit when Unicorns don't have their ultimates. We've seen that they're waiting out fights until Shockwave is available, and they've got all of their ultimates here to fight over this tower, so FM can't get baited into a fight.
Oh, they're going to go in. The Crescent Sweep hasn't come out yet. The intervention comes out at the best time for Master Oshibi. Vilex is unstoppable, picking up the kill onto Akulord. Samwise gets caught up in a Shockwave, has to flash. Hylatang's going to tank up the turret a little bit there, and that is the power of Unicorns of Love right now. They can tower dive in a turret and take the turret at the same time. They're instantly going to rotate round to Baron. Ward is going to pick them up. I don't know if FM have the power to contest this.
They don't have a Feral Flare yet. They're a 22 stack, so it's not quite an easier Baron as they'd like it to be.
They have to be careful though. There's a lot of magic damage on the side of FM, and with the Baron stacking buff, if Rise, Karma and LeBlanc decide to go in, they may get a clean-up.
Yeah, but FM are a little too cautious on this. That Baron will go, and if they're too close, they will get collapsed upon here. Inner Flame is going to go out to deter any kind of follow-up from Unicorns of Love, but they've already got what they were looking for from that one. They've already pushed FM all the way back in that middle lane up towards the inhibitor tower, and now that they've got Baron buff, they're now going to, as you said, out-rotate here. They're just going to push every single lane and just really pile the pressure up onto FM.
And this is what we were talking about. Heading towards that 25-minute mark, they now have an 11k gold lead, which is what you would call decisive. So, FM are really going to struggle in this game to come back into it, and I just don't think Unicorns of Love are the type of team that will give them the opportunity to.
FM have got decent wave clear with Caitlyn and the
oh, Tundra is going to get a ton of damage. The intervention comes down straight away. Here's the teleport coming in from Kha'Zix. Yarrow has to use his Mantrid shield to get everybody away. The Shirelia's type of Coin of Ascension. speed boost coming out there. Heals have been used too. Master of Shibi comes in with the Crescent Sweep, hits across everybody, but doesn't manage to get anybody into the team, probably forcing them away from the turret, and that is a turret going over to Unicorns of Love. There is only one outer turret remaining right now for FM eSports.
Unicorns are using an ultimate every couple of little skirmishes here, which could play into FM's hands if that Baron buff wasn't on Unicorns. Unicorns can kind of just back off, heal up a little bit with that regeneration, and then go again. FM don't have that luxury. If this was between two teams that didn't have Baron buff, FM could kind of use this to their advantage now that they know a couple of those big ultimates are down, but it isn't working that way for them. Just because of that extra regeneration means that Unicorns of Love can fight them every so often and keep getting that damage down as they harass, and FM just have to try to hold their turrets, otherwise they're just hemorrhaging objectives away.
They're going to hemorrhage this bot lane tower, as you say it, because I don't even think FM want to contest. The intervention is back up now. Master of Shibi's Crimson Sweep will be coming very shortly, as well as Lucian's Culling. The good thing about the ultimates on the side of Unicorns of Love is they're very short cooldowns, all of them. They can afford to use them in small skirmishes and know that they will be up in the time for the next time another small skirmish comes along. The gold lead has been stretched to 13k. The dragon is about to spawn in 5 seconds. A little bit of a mistiming from the Ardent Blaze on Vardags, but I don't think that's going to matter too much. And that's going to stretch it even further. FM are being taken by the scruff of the neck and thrown in the dirt right now.
Yeah, that's a lot of gold now on the side of Unicorns. You can see most of the members have over 2,000 gold on in their banks just to go back and spend. So we'll see what they end up picking up from this as items all across the board. Now that Feral Flare has been completed as well, so they're really hitting a damage spike, and FM need to try and hold out a little bit longer so that Tundra can get rolling on Rise, but that's a very long-term game plan. And that doesn't help them stop losing objectives in the short term, which really is what they have to do to prevent Unicorns from just taking this game.
Yeah, and I don't know where they can contest objectives either. The only benefit I can see is if Tundra managed to pick up his Archangel stuff so he has his maximum damage potential. They can get a dive under turret and have LeBlanc possibly burst someone down, but look at the item. At 26 minutes, LeBlanc's only finished one tier 3 item. Samwise is split between a Zeal and a Last Whisper right now, and everyone is... I mean, even though Tundra's performed possibly one of the worst, he's the only one on the team I think has the potential to bring a turret dive in the favour of FM.
I think it was just good focusing from Vizicachi in that top lane. I mean, I was speaking to Tundra about the games that happened, and he said he controlled top lane in both of yesterday's games, but unfortunately, when it came to the rest of the game, they just weren't able to do anything with that control they had in top lane, and it's kind of gone the opposite way for Tundra. He hasn't had the control of the top lane, and I think this is just Vizicachi wanting to completely assert himself over Tundra in game 1 of the series.
Yeah, he's putting the gauntlet down, as you would say, saying, look, I know how to beat you in lane, I know which champions I can play against you. Look at the damage coming down onto Vardags though. I think the Deathfire Grasp was used, the Sigil of Silence was not procced for the second time though. That meant Seeking is going to be healed up by Kayle and will no difference really going to be made in the long term for Vardags there. I don't know if FM going to be able to capitalise on this. The level difference is just too great for a jump. Here goes Flash. Crescent Sweep comes in immediately. Vizicachi's going to get the Kayle ultimate onto him. Akiwise gets a heal from Mikhail's Crucible, but it is going to go down to Vizicachi, and this is going to be another turret in favour of Unicorns of Love right here. They're going to take the inhibitor for their troubles too. Looks like LeBlanc tries to go in there. Mayhem doesn't get the kill, but Samwise does. Yero tries to slow up Halisang, but here comes Vizicachi. He's going to pick up Tundra. He is dominating right now. Samwise is trying to move into position to get a bit of defense on this inhibitor, but they may just have to give it up. He's going to go down to Vardags as the slow from the command distance helps him pick up a kill there. Halisang destroys the inhibitor in the meantime. They're going to try and push down onto these Nexus turrets now. This could be game for Unicorns of Love.
It is likely to be game. There's only one member to come out of the Death Chamber for another 15 to 20 seconds here as Akiloy rejoins the fight, but Unicorns of Love have both Nexus turrets down. Nothing FM can do here. That's a good inner flame, but it's not going to be enough to prevent this game from going in favour of Unicorns of Love. That's a 1-0 lead they have, and that was a really convincing performance, and they really extend their lead in this this kind of rivalry between the two teams, 3 games to 0.
Yeah, and this is just a replay of what we saw yesterday between Unicorns of Love and FM, and I think FM are going to have to come out with something a lot harder than what they've just shown us to be able to beat a team like Unicorns of Love. Anyway, we are casting the Razer Challenge Cup at I-51. A shout out to our sponsors Razer, at Razer on Twitter and RazerZone.com. I'm Scoundrel, and I'm casting with Dignitas Stress. You may have heard of him. I've heard he's quite big. And we'll be back.
I wouldn't put it that way.
And we'll be back with the second game of this best of 3 in just a short